Just outside of Diamond City there is a sewer, known as the Fen Street Sewer line. Here holds the remnants of the career of a serial killer, who appears to have taken shelter away from the social pressures and ideals of day-to-day life.
Life up there is exhausting.
As you enter Fen Street Sewer, you immediately have an idea of what you're in for. The area is strewn with skeletons set into theatrical positions, analogous to a tame episode of Hannibal. With eager eyes you spot a tape recorder entitled Dear Detective. Play it? Well, just one listen. You learn that the killer who resided here led a detective to this location so as to show off the work he's been doing.
I've put my work on display down here.
Each of these exhibits hold a piece of chalk and a certain number of crosses drawn in chalk nearby. Each cross seems to denote the number of lives used to create the exhibit. There are also 4 tapes down here. Each one reveals more about the killer and what happened in Fen Street Sewer after the arrival of the detective. After much exploration though, the area holds no definitive answer as to what happened to the killer or the detective. So what happened in Fen Street Sewer and when? One can only speculate. Many clues have been left behind down here though. One which stands out is from the mouth of the killer himself.
Life up there is exhausting. Every day you smile at people who don't care about you one way or another because that is what you do.
This hints that perhaps the killer was around before the war, in a time when society was a bit more rigid and what people thought of each other meant a lot more. I mean, these skeletons could be very old, preserved in time as the new world was being born. Conversely, events down here could be very recent. The detective in question could be Nick Valentine from Diamond City. Very possible, given the proximity of Fen Street Sewer to Diamond City. The more pressing question is of the current location of the detective and the killer. This arises because neither of them seem to be down here. Upon finding the killer's last tape, it is revealed that the detective and the Phantom have hurt each other.
I didn't want to hurt you, but you hurt me first. Now I know you didn't mean those things you said, and I forgive you, Detective. It doesn't matter anymore. Now you're here with me.
Given the Phantom's tone of voice and amusement, it seems unlikely he has received any kind of mortal wound. The detective, however, seems a lot less fortunate. The Phantom's laugh implies heavily that he has the detective trapped. This is supported by the caged area the final tape is found in. Perhaps the Phantom is sharing a final monologue with the detective's dead body. Either way, it implies a definitive end to the detective. As for what the Phantom did with the detective, well, what better way to get to know someone than to turn them into art? Left behind in the room with the 4th tape is a pool of blood, most likely arising from the confrontation between the detective and the Phantom. If this is the case, it is unlikely the events being described here are pre-war. Evidently, it is also unlikely that the detective was Nick Valentine, who is very much alive. It could be argued that he was killed, then revived as the synth he is now, but Nick Valentine had his memories taken from pre-war times, suggesting his human self died long before these events. So if made into art, where's the detective? Fen's Phantom admitted to being obsessed with the detective. He wanted to know them intimately.
I am your object of fascination, and you have become mine.
Is it possible the detective was made into his final, most intimate exhibition? You see, hidden away in the Fen Street Sewer is a mattress with the remains of a man gently cradling a woman. The gender of the detective was never disclosed. The Phantom starred in his final piece with the female detective, the only way he could truly express himself to another human, killed with the machete that lies beside them. Many of the clues lead to this outcome, but there is another possibility. The Phantom was always a recluse. He remained hidden for years in the sewers of Fen Street, emerging only to gather the supplies for his exhibits. Here, below the ground, the sewers held radioactive barrels and large pools of unclean water. The Phantom began to accumulate large amounts of radiation and slowly lose his mind. All that kept him going was leaving a show for the detective, someone to interact and bond with, to understand him to a certain degree. The detective that existed only in his radiation-soaked mind. He created tapes for the imaginary detective, then over time he absorbed so much radiation he became a ghoul. Then finally, the great glowing one, found in the room where the detective met his end. Thank you so much for watching, friends. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe for more stories. Good night, and keep enjoying Fallout 4.